So I've been talking about making this video for ages and it's finally here. And if you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Minnie, and I recently went through a bit of a bout of creative block where I couldn't come up with ideas for drawings and I couldn't really find the motivation to get started, and I wanted to talk about a few of the ways that I got through that funk and a few other ways that I've just found effective over the years to get productive, to get inspired. So let's get to it. So I found that when you're a creative person by nature and you're so used to getting and executing great ideas, when your mind goes blank and you can't do that, it's almost like forgetting who you are. And I mean, maybe I'm being a bit dramatic, but I've definitely had times where I haven't been able to create something for over a week and I sort of end up doubting myself and what I'm actually capable of. So I think the best thing to do when that uninspired feeling first hits is to remind yourself who you are. And I know that sounds a bit silly, but I know for me it really helps to look over my old sketchbooks, and it also helps to have your art online somewhere like Instagram, because you can quickly go over like the highlights, your best bits of work all in one place, and all of a sudden you think, oh yeah, I remember that, I was really proud of that, and I can draw after all. It can also help to recreate some of those old favourite pieces of work because you did it well once, so why can't you do a great job of it again, maybe even a better job? A lot of the time that's just the sort of confidence boost you need to get back in the swing of things, plus it doesn't require too much thought or imagination. Now if you're like me, you might not like drawing the same thing more than once, in which case you could try to recreate the work of someone whose art style you admire. And obviously I'm not advocating plagiarism or anything like that. Don't go copying someone's work and sharing it with the world, claiming it as your own. This is really for your eyes only. It's just a practice to sort of wake up your creative muscle memory, get your hands back in the swing of handling your art tools, and get your brain back into that zone of creativity. Another thing that helps me remind myself who I am is to draw what I know I'm good at. It can be really disheartening when you try something new and it doesn't go well, and when you start to feel useless or talentless, all motivation to create new things just sort of goes out the window. So I like drawing faces, mainly of women, mainly facing dead on. On most days I can do that and I like what I end up with. And it might be really samey and similar to stuff that I've done 1,000 times before, but again, it boosts my confidence and it gets me back in the mood to do more. Or, on the flip side of that, but equally as effective, you could try something brand new. So do something you've never done before. You don't have to step completely out of the box. It could just be working on a different coloured paper, which is what got me out of my last artist block. You might remember I was talking about it in my yellow scarf video, where I used brown paper for the first time. And you could use a different type of pen or paint. You could work on a much bigger scale than usual or much smaller. If you always draw people, draw some animals. Do something futuristic or fantasy themed. Do some fan art. Try cubism. Lose control. Go wild. On the subject of challenging yourself and pushing your boundaries, how about taking part in an art challenge or project? There are pages like Sketch Dailies that give you prompts for things to draw every day, and there are loads of other communities like that. Or I know the artist from the channel Love Teacup Kisses here on YouTube is doing something called Weekly 5, where you complete 5 drawings a week, and I think that's an amazing idea. I'll definitely be taking part in that. And that type of thing really breaks you out of a funk because it's fun and you sort of have no choice but to create something. You can also make up your own challenge that fits well with your needs. So I recently set myself a challenge to fill 100 sketchbook pages using prompts that I came up with myself, and I've written them out, so I'll leave a link in the description of this video to the blog post where all of those prompts are listed. But maybe you could draw a hand every day in different positions, or you could do a 30-day background challenge. Again, it just reinforces a routine of drawing that's fun and rewarding. One really easy challenge that I set myself sometimes when I'm procrastinating on social media is to draw every single thing I see while I'm scrolling through. So Pinterest, Tumblr, Instagram are great sites for this. You basically have to interpret every single image or even the pieces of writing or even music in some way. Alright, so a lot of the time when people are talking about creativity and productivity and inspiration, they suggest going outside and taking in the world around you, and I think that's a great tip. It makes a lot of sense. but I'm not much of an outside kind of person, especially when it's as cold as it is now. But I found that for me, I can get the same sort of refreshing, rejuvenating feeling just by moving to a different room, or even a different part of the room, or just by tidying up the space I'm already in. So I always keep my room super tidy, especially my workspace, but I'm so guilty of spending most of my time working in bed. It's warm, it's comfy, but sitting there all day can start to feel quite stagnant and stale, so it really helps to pick up all my bits and bobs and move over to my desk, spread everything out. It's like taking a deep breath of fresh air. My mind is so much clearer. On top of that, I love to make my space really sort of attractive and pretty and relaxing. So as well as tidying up, I'll add some extra flair by turning on my fairy lights or lighting some candles, and I also like to put on some music to fit my mood. So I love listening to the type of music that I use in my videos when I'm working because it's relaxing, it's not overly complicated or distracting, but it's got a good bit of substance to it, enough to sort of spark something in my mind. When I'm particularly stressed out, I do have one special cassette tape that never fails to ground me. I try not to listen to it too often so it can keep its magical powers. It's not really the type of music I listen to typically, but it works. It might work for you. So I'll leave a link to some of the songs in the description. But otherwise, you can get the same sort of feeling, I think, from listening to something really nostalgic, like a CD from your childhood that you haven't heard in years. Those types of things, plus that sort of self-indulgent feeling of setting the scene, it really alleviates feelings of being pent up and trapped and stuck in a box. And once your mind is feeling freer, the creative juices should really be able to flow a lot better. Now, if none of that stuff is working, it might be time to get technical, and you can never have enough practice as far as I'm concerned, so dedicating some time to looking at references or working on your knowledge of anatomy or whatever else is always really useful. I like to spend time looking at reference practice boards on Pinterest, and I also like to take lessons on YouTube, like those done by Draw with Jazza. So he's got videos on all sorts of stuff, and it's really useful to draw along and learn some new skills, even if you just do it for 10 minutes. And you'll find that once you've learned something new, you'll be so eager to incorporate it into your work that artist block will be a distant memory. Alright, so the most important thing you can do for yourself is to really appreciate every victory. It's so easy as a creative person to put too much pressure on yourself and focus on those perceived failures, and over time that sort of mindset just sort of breaks you down. So make sure you're really appreciating yourself throughout the day, even the littlest things. Like, as long as you've tried, that's worth something. And I take this really quite literally because it's always worked for me, and I think it can work in all aspects of life. So when I feel like I'm done drawing for the day or for the moment, I take a second to really actively tell myself I did a good job. Then when it comes time to draw something again, instead of feeling deflated and hopeless, there's this underlying sense of achievement that's already there. Like, I remember the last time I was sat here drawing, I did a good job, I'll do a good job again. So I hope these tips have been useful for you guys. I hope that there are at least a couple of things, a couple of new ideas that I've given you. And if you do use anything from this video, I'd love to hear about it. But other than that, I will see you guys on Tuesday for my next video. And yeah, that's it. Bye.